Welcome to Furry Birdie Yoga Odyssey. I'm Jason, and this is our first ever episode of Myth Conceptions. It's not a very good pun. I mean, it's a pun, but you know. Anyway, most common thing I hear when people find out that I'm a yoga instructor is I'm not flexible enough for yoga. And that's fine. Like, you can hold on to that. I don't know if you want to do yoga. Like nobody's saying you have to do yoga. But the fact of the matter is, yoga's not about flexibility. Yoga's about mobility. It's about, which is funny because it's also about stillness. The original idea behind yoga, one of the original ideas behind yoga is that it is easier, or it is it's more accessible to still the mind if you first move the body. And by moving the body through a series of postures, you can then quiet the mind and you can find some meditation, some mindfulness, some ease, some untangling. The asanas themselves, especially in mainstream fitness trends, are seen as a way to build muscle and get in shape, and that's not the most accurate. I can hear an animal. I can hear one of my creatures in the other room doing something, and I had to hone in to see if they were doing something terrible. Mainstream fitness trends are that yoga is about building muscle and fitness, and it's okay. It's okay if that's one thing, and it leads you to explore yoga. If your sole purpose for going into yoga is to get jacked, it's just not right. That's not the right thing to do. It's not an effective way to do that. Calisthenics and free weights and running and cycling, a friggin' trampoline class, like go climb a tree. Like there's all kinds of other things that will allow you to build muscle more effectively. What happens is people go from, typically, people go from a lifestyle where there's not a lot of movement, maybe even a sedentary lifestyle, and then they begin yoga because it can be very low impact. And if you go from a sedentary lifestyle or a partially sedentary lifestyle, and then you go into yoga, you're going to build muscle and you're going to lose fat, probably. It's more likely than not. But that's a function of moving the body. It's not necessarily the goal of yoga. If you want to get stronger at push-ups, don't do yoga, do push-ups. Okay? Yoga is not about flexibility either. Yoga is about mobility, and mobility is a combination of strength and stamina, and flexibility is in there. Dexterity, which is strength and movement, essentially. So yoga, asana practice is a combination of things. It's not, and you don't need any of them. You don't need any of them to start. That's the other kicker. Like, I'm not coordinated enough to be a drummer. You think drummers were coordinated? Like, maybe not, but they started somewhere and then they learned to be, like, they weren't drummers who then learned how to drum. They were people who did not know how to drum and then started drumming. Same thing for pretty much everything. You don't know how to do a thing, you decide to do a thing, you get better at that thing. You choosing to be a barrier to yoga for yourself is probably one of the most anti-yoga things you could do. If you have an interest in yoga and you're breathing, then start practicing yoga. You can start with my vids. You can go to a studio, a beginner's class. You can start with somebody else's vids. But trying to say that since you're not flexible, you can't do yoga, since you can't look like an Instagram model, you can't do yoga, that's hogwash. Instagram is a terrible place to go for yoga inspiration. Just because a person looks a certain way. I almost said great. Just because a person looks a certain way in an asana doesn't mean they have a good solid yoga practice. It means that they took a photo of them in an asana. So flexibility is not a requisite. What you need to have is breath. And if you're breathing, then you can start yoga. Comments are always welcome for this particular, for any of my vlogs, but particularly for this one. If there's a myth that you have heard and you'd like some other information on it, please, 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 please comment and I will get to it. Check these out every week. Thanks for stopping by. See you on the mat. Namaste.